All right. So, welcome to the Real Bible Study. For those who don't know me, my name is Danielle, and I am the Bible study host. So, before we get started, I like to start with a prayer. So, I'm gonna recite it, and then you guys repeat after me, just so we get our minds ready to receive this good word that's coming. All right. So, everybody ready? All right. So, Lord, y'all can repeat after me.
Lord,
Okay. Open our eyes.
open our eyes
So we can see something we've never seen before.
so we can
So
see
we can
something
see
we've
something
never
we've never
seen
seen
before.
before.
Open our eyes
Open our eyes
so we can hear something we've never heard before.
So we
so
can
we
see
can hear
something we've
something we've
never
never
heard
heard
before.
before.
And open our hearts
And open our hearts
so we can receive something we've never received before.
So we
so
can
we can receive
something
something we never received before.
Amen.
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 All right. So this week our home assignment was to read Genesis 5 and 6. So I'm gonna start with Genesis 5, and if we can get through Genesis 5 and get to Genesis 6 is fine. But if not, we'll just get through Genesis 5. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Everybody got their pen and their Bibles and their apps and their journals or their paper, whatever we want to take notes with.
Yeah.
All right. So I got my stuff. I got my stuff open. All right, y'all know I gotta take my glasses off, but I'm getting new glasses, y'all. So hopefully I won't have to keep taking them off to read up front. All right. So Genesis 5. This is the document containing the family records of Adam. On the day that God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created them male and female. When they were created, he blessed them and called them mankind. Adam was 130 years old when he fathered a son in his likeness, according to his image, and named him Seth. Adam lived 800 years after he fathered Seth, and he fathered other sons and daughters. So Adam's life lasted 930 years, then he died. Seth was 105 years old when he fathered Enosh. Seth lived 807 years after he fathered Enosh, and he fathered other sons and daughters. So Seth's life lasted 912 years, then he died. Enosh was 90 years old when he fathered Kenan. Enosh lived 815 years after he fathered Kenan, and he fathered other sons and daughters. So Enosh's life lasted 905 years, then he died. Kenan was 70 years old when he fathered Mahalalel. Kenan lived 840 years after he fathered Mahalalel, and he fathered other sons and daughters. So Kenan's life lasted 910 years, then he died. Mahalalel was 65 years old when he fathered Jared. Mahalalel lived 830 years after he fathered Jared, and he fathered other sons and daughters. So Mahalalel's life lasted 895 years, then he died. Jared was 162 years old when he fathered Enoch. Jared lived 800 years after he fathered Enoch, and he fathered other sons and daughters. So Jared's life lasted 962 years, then he died. Enoch was 65 years old when he fathered Methuselah. And after he fathered Methuselah, Enoch walked with God 300 years and fathered other sons and daughters. So Enoch's life lasted 365 years. Enoch walked with God, then he was not there because God took him. Methuselah was 187 years old when he fathered Lamech. Methuselah lived 782 years after he fathered Lamech, and he fathered other sons and daughters. So Methuselah's life lasted 969 years, then he died. Lamech was 182 years old when he fathered a son, and he named him Noah, saying, "This one will bring us relief from the agonizing labor of our hands, caused by the ground the Lord has cursed." Lamech lived 595 years after he fathered Noah, and he fathered other sons and daughters. So Lamech's life lasted 777 years. Then he died. Noah was 500 years old, and he fathered Shem, Ham, and Japheth. That's the end of the word. So if I had to put a title to this lesson, you guys, I am titling this lesson this week 10 to the end. So normally during the week between 6:30 and 8 o'clock, you can catch me watching my favorite game show, Family Feud. To be honest, I was watching it before it was time to start Bible study. I love this show. You have different generations coming together to form a family. Sometimes they are blood related. Sometimes they are related based on marriage. And sometimes they could be a family friend. Family is what you make it. Sometimes family can be made up of people we choose, not the ones we were born into. In Genesis 5, we see many generations being introduced to us. And if they had the game back then, they could have been contestants on Family Feud. Today, people come on Family Feud to win money. Back then, I guess they would try and win land, cattle, maybe God's favor. And they all still would want to participate on Family Feud. So before we continue, I want to share something with you guys so that we can kind of bridge in our secular part of learning to today's society and take it into what we know from where we were back then. So give me 1 second. I'm getting better, you guys. I'm getting better.
Values have doubled. Here we go. Top 6 answers are on the board. Name something that follows the word pork.
Loin!
Huh?
Loin! Pork loin! L-I-O-N, loin!
Oh,
Pork loin!
glad you spelled it, cuz the hell is a pork lawn? I thought you said lawn like the grass outside. I was going, what the hell is a pork lawn? Lawn! Looking for the pork loin. Joe?
Pork belly.
Pork belly.
We gonna play!
We're gonna play. Tick.
What down?
Name something that follows the word pork.
You pine.
Huh?
You pine. Pork
That's right, Ted! Yes, lunatic!
Pork. He said cupine. Cupine. What? What is cupine? This is the greatest answer I've ever heard. I feel you. I feel you. It's number one.
Oh, my mama.
Pow. It's number one. Oh, really? Well, I tell you what, it's gonna be number one on YouTube, but it ain't gonna be number one on there. I can bet every dollar I got. You the only person that said cupine. Cupine!
All right. So
Hilarious.
I love Family Feud. So it does my heart joy to know that that is like one of my favorite episodes of Family Feud ever. I had to go back and find it because if you really looked at the family, you're seeing different generations, different types of people, you know, all coming together as what represents their family. So that's kind of this purpose of Genesis 5. It's about the genealogy of Adam's family. So we're going to discuss this a little bit further. So my first question before we continue is, what did you notice about everybody that they had in this Bible when they had somebody? What did you notice about them that was
They were
consistent?
old.
They were old.
Yeah,
But
they
they
had
was getting
longevity.
younger.
What you say, Caitlin?
They was getting younger when they had them. Like I think Adam had somebody when he was like 500 and something, or he was hundreds of ages. And then it went all the way down to I think the youngest you said was 70.
300. Oh yeah, 70. Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else we noticed about them?
I noticed they were all males.
They were all males. That is so important. I picked that up. Now, let me tell y'all something. I had to read this. I've never studied Genesis 5. So I had to read it in like 6 different translations to kind of understand it, to get us ready for today. So in every translation that I studied it, I was like, so where? I mean, they might have said they had some daughters, but they never gave them a name. And so what was the significance in they would have this person and then after so many years, they died. So for me, I felt like that was significant. And then I said, I know one of the questions could be, as we're sitting here, you know, we don't live this long. How do we think it was okay? Or what do we think it was that allowed people to live hundreds of years back then and then have children and then die? Anybody
I think it was because they was doing God's work. Like if you think about Noah, it was so much. He met his wife earlier, but it was so much that he had to go through with like the Israelites and freeing them, and like he was like a soldier. Like they did so much. It was so much they had to do before they had children to pass that on, like doing God's work. And then
So you think they lived their lives and then they said, okay, I lived my life. Now let me have these kids.
Yeah.
Okay, I can take that. So what I found was that it said Adam was the first human created and he must have been nearly perfect. They were more perfect in health, size, and stature back then. Perhaps the first generations of humans lived such long lives because they were so close to the man that God created. And what God creates was perfect from the beginning. And that wasn't until sin entered human race. Since sin is destructive and the continuing of the sin through the generations had a cumulative effect. And I believe this is how we get generational curses. So what, if you had to put a definition to it, what would you consider to be a generational curse?
Sin.
Sin. Okay.
Dead.
You said that, Caitlin?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else?
Molestation.
That could be a generational curse. Okay. So when I looked up the definition, it said generational curses describes the cumulatory effect on a person of things that their ancestors did, believed, or practiced in the past, and a consequence of an ancestor's actions, beliefs, and sins, like Renee said, being passed down. So then my next question, which we all started, is can everybody start giving me some examples of generational curses? So far I see we had molestation, debt, anything else you think?
Hoarding.
Well, I'm sorry, hoarding, being a
Yeah.
hoarder?
I'm not.
No, but I'm just saying, you saying being a hoarder?
Yes.
Yeah, I could see that, and it starts small with that, right? My husband said I picked up on that too. You know, you start being like, you know what, I'm gonna save this this magazine, or
Mhm.
I'm gonna save this box, right? And it just somehow hoarding may be a little bit worse than others, because he'll say it's no, well, he'll say I hoard shoes, but that's a whole nother thing. But it's no reason why I need to have all these buckets down here. I'm looking around in this basement right now. So my son, absentee parents can be a generational curse. And so what can we do so that when we have kids, we don't become absentee parents to our children? Absolutely. And I'm also looking around this room to see all these empty boxes that I have accumulated. Like, why am I keeping these empty boxes? What am I going to do with them? Okay. So I don't know, y'all. So one day I'm gonna clean it up. So any other examples of what we have as a generational curse?
My kids not being young parents. I feel like I broke
Okay.
that cycle.
That's a good one. Being a teenage parent. Any other drug addiction, any other type of generational curses that you guys want to list, that we want to just put out in the atmosphere? Because sometimes we don't even realize some of the things that we do may even be a generational curse. Like, sometimes we're like, well, I did that because that's what my mother did, or that's what my father did, or that's what my grandmother did. But it might not, just because they did it doesn't mean it was a good thing to do. So is there any other things we can think of?
Talking down on people. I've seen in different families where they said, well, just what you just made the statement that my mother did it. Well, like you said, that's not right.
Yeah. Because what did we learn from it? And then especially if it was done to us, right? So if my mother talked down to me, why would I, and I know how that made me feel, why would I want to then talk down to my kids? Because I knew how that made me feel. Why would I want them to feel the same way? So the same thing, that's a generational curse. I also wrote down living the same lives your parents did, working hard, not smart, raising your kids the same way without no change or improvement, spending every dime you have, not saving. All of these things can be considered generational curses. So then I said, it seems like the generations in Genesis 5 were cursed because they all did the same things over and over and over again. They lived, they had kids, they died, and they did this for 10 generations.
But then I think Noah broke the curse.
So Noah's gonna break the curse.
Yep.
But so we ain't get to Noah yet. So
sorry.
We in Genesis 5. We get to Noah in Genesis 6. So Noah does break that curse. So up until Noah, we had these 10 generations, and all they did was live. If y'all want to write this down, they had kids and they died. And nothing in this word said they did anything. It didn't say they built anything. It didn't say they harvest anything. It didn't say they sold anything. It didn't say they had any weekly meetings. They ain't read nothing. That's all they did was they lived, had kids, and they died. So I said I had to believe that God was trying to see if they learned their lesson or if they were going to do something different. You got a question, Ashley?
Yeah, but wasn't back then part of their purpose to reproduce and populate the world?
Yeah, that was one of their purposes, was to populate the earth. But do you not think that you couldn't populate the earth and do something else? Because we're doing that today. We populating the earth while we doing other things. We go to work, we populate the earth. We go out to the movies, the earth's still populated. We go to the mall. So I feel like it was just still other things that they could have done, but this has become something that they did generation after generation. Look at it. My father did this. My father had kids. He lived all these years, then he died. My father did this. He lived like this. He had all these kids, and then he died. I mean, it just happened like this for 10 years. So I said, now, I'm not saying don't have kids. Of course, we are not going to live forever. But my question is, what are we going to do now between birth and death? How are we going to break generational curses? What are we going to do that we can start saying, you know what? Let me break these generational curses.
Go to therapy.
I like therapy, Caitlin. Go to therapy, anything. Like, also, I think have open communication within our families, right? So, like Brenda said, she feels like she broke the curse of being a teenage mother, right? So if I was a teenage mother, maybe I might talk to my kids and say, look, you don't want to do this. It was hard. It was difficult. Sometimes I felt like it was impossible. Sometimes I wanted to throw in the towel. So, like, I would tell my son, even though I wasn't a teenage mom, but I would still tell him, be better than me. Do it different than me. You don't have to do it the same way that I'm doing. And I will always tell him it's more than one way to skin a cat. And I think those sometimes we don't want to share our deepest, darkest thoughts or secrets with our kids. And now everything should be shared, but some things need to, so that we can break these generational curses. So before I continue, is there any verse in chapter 5 that you guys want to discuss, so that it's not just me discussing the whole book? And if you don't want to ask questions out, with everyone, you can write them in the chat. I got Brenda's checking the chat, so she'll let me know if anybody has any questions, so we can address the questions in the chat. But is there anybody who have any questions from what we've read? And then y'all want to discuss? Is there a verse you want to pull out? I know y'all got a verse. I know this was a hard chapter. I know it was. I'm telling you, I had to read it. I had to read it myself a lot of times. But it gotta be some questions, even if you just thought at the very beginning, that you want to discuss in chapter 5, so that it's not just me discussing the chapters that I like.
I have a question.
Okay.
Why was Seth mentioned as Adam's offspring and not Cain and the children that he had? Because Cain had children too.
So remember in Genesis 4, when we were Cain killed Abel and he got put out of,
right.
And so Seth was the spare, right? So that's one of my questions that I had too. Did you see how Adam describes Seth as being made in his image?
Mm-hmm.
But God made Adam in his image.
Ooh.
Okay.
So that was one of the things that, I had written down for us to discuss. Did you guys notice that when God made Adam, he made Adam in his own image? But then when Adam, now he's flawed, sinned, then got put out to eat the garden. And now he didn't have Seth, and he said, and I had a son of my own image.
Right.
So now Seth is born into sin, because he didn't came from his sin-filled or sinful father. So he's no longer sin-free like Adam was before he ate the fruit. Did we notice that? So now Seth and everything that come from Seth has now been born into sin. So it's a difference, because now they're not made in God's image. They made in their own image, in their own parents' image. Is there any other verse that we want to pull out and we could discuss?
It's not like a verse that I want to pull out, but I will say that I noticed that like the men, they had their children and then they died, right? So the women, it's almost like the women was left to take care, and they don't mention that because they couldn't survive on their own. So I was curious about that as well, because they definitely don't mention it. It's like, okay, the men, they have these babies and then they did, and that's just kind of like today, they are dead in some kind of way and leave the women holding the bag
to take care of the family. Yeah. And that's definitely a parallel for where we are today from where we were in the beginning of man. Because this chapter 5, they said this is the creation of mankind. It's also called the creation of mankind, depending on what version of the Bible you're reading. They call it the Adam's genealogy. They call it the line of Seth. They call it the creation of mankind. So this is how they're saying mankind was created. So, because he said that here, when they were created, he blessed them. and called them mankind. That's what they said. Because remember, he made Adam in the likeness of God. And then God created the man and the woman. And then he blessed them. And then he called them mankind. But then here we come with Adam. Adam was 130 years old. Because remember, we talked about it, how last week, where was Adam when Cain killed Abel? It seemed like he was missing. And even when Eve had Cain, remember, she gave him such a bountiful name, but Adam said nothing. But Adam still, think about it, didn't give a name to Cain or Abel either. So it seems like they kind of learned a little bit from their mistake, because Eve then said, God has given me another child, and I'm gonna do this different with Seth. Same thing with Adam. It seems like he said, okay, I'm gonna put more effort or put some type of something into him so that I won't lose him like I lost Cain and Abel. But then it says, okay, he lived 800 years. And then they say he fathered other sons and daughters, but they don't have a name. He said he lived 930 years and then he died. I think when I was reading this, and every time I kept, I was like, well, God, that's all they did? And then at the end of the sentence of every verse, then he died. Then he died. Then he died. Then he died. So I said, before I move on, anybody else any other verse anybody want to pull out? Because it's like everybody just lived so many years, and then they die. But okay. So what is so special about the number 10? That's why I called it 10 to the end. So first, most people have 10 fingers and 10 toes. Growing up, you used to use your fingers to count. So I still do. Also, 10 is the first 2-digit number. Can you remember how I felt when you turned 10? You were like, man, I'm 2 digits now. It was like you thought you were grown, or like how the old people used to say, you might be smelling yourself. 10 is the base of the decimal system, and 10 is also a perfect number. Think about it. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10. And it's perfect unity. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is so good. 10 is so good. It has a drink named after it. The perfect 10 cocktail, which is a martini that is consisted of Tanqueray number 10 and a twist of lime. Also, I'm not sure if you really are aware, but a full-term baby is 40 weeks, which is 10 months, and not 9 like most say. So, what's the significance of the 10 in this text? So in the Bible, the number 10 is viewed as a complete and perfect number. It is made up of 4, the number 4, which represents the physical creation, and the number 6, which symbolizes man. As such, the meaning of 10 is one of testimony, law, responsibility, and completeness of order. So I want to talk about what is genealogy, because now we're learning about the difference in the genealogy. So does anybody know what genealogy is?
Danielle, before you get into that, can you say what the 6 and the 4 meant again, please?
Absolutely. So the number 4, which represents the physical creation, and 6, which symbolizes man.
Thank you.
And then it says the meaning of 10 is one of testimony, law, responsibility, and the completeness of order. So I said, okay, what is genealogy? So genealogy is the study of the family, family history, and tracing of their lineages. So if you ever want to say,
I was going to say ancestry.com.
Yeah, 23andMe, because I almost called this 23andMe. I was like, well, maybe I could call it 23andMe, because we learning about where we came from. So that's why we already answered the question of what was the difference between how Adam was created and how Seth was created. So we answered that. Okay. Out of everyone that had kids, what was the significance about Lamech?
He was Noah's son, right?
He was Noah's father.
Oh,
That was the bigamist, wasn't it?
Yeah, go ahead, Renee. You learned from last week, girl. He was the first bigamist. Yep. And he is Noah's father. And think about this, right? He said, I had a son and I named him Noah, saying, this one will comfort us concerning our work and the toil of our hands because of the ground which the Lord has cursed. Nobody else gave a meaning behind their kid's name. Did y'all notice that?
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Nobody else said anything about their kids. They said, okay, his name was Methuselah, his name was this, and then I died.
I wonder who his mother was. Who
his mother was Nameeh. We did meet his mother. No, I'm sorry. One of them women was from the two from last week. I'm thinking of Noah's wife. I'm sorry. We could probably look back in here and see who Cain's mother was. Because Lamech had the two wives. Hold on. Lamech said who his wife was. Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. But it don't say which one of them women was his mother.
I wonder if it was his first wife or not.
A bronze two Cain's sister was Naamah. Yeah, it don't say which one. Sorry. We could I don't know who is I don't know, but it's one of them. Maybe they was, Ada or Zillah were his was his wives. Okay, so it says what my next question is, what was so special about Enoch?
Was it his relationship with God?
It was his relationship with God, but it was more than that. And so, okay, let's read it.
He walked. Oh wait, yeah, you said that.
You're right.
He
walked
walked
with him for 300 years.
He walked with God. Yep. Enoch walked with God. And if you noticed, Enoch never died.
What?
It said Enoch's life lasted 365 years, and then God came and took him. But it never said he died.
So he was the first person to go to heaven.
I would say.
That's crazy.
Yep. So it says, okay, God took Enoch, and he never saw death. Any other things about 5 before we move to 6?
I have a question. So everyone else that died, where did they go?
I don't know, because I don't think Enoch died. I think he became like maybe an angel or something, because it just said that he walked with God and nobody else walked with him. Like when we started reading none of the line all through the text, none of the other people walked with him. So it's like they didn't really get that favor from God. So God said, okay, I'm gonna come and get you, and I'm gonna take you, and you're gonna be with me. And the rest of them, it just said they died. So I don't know if their souls is in. I don't want to deem them to hell. I don't think they went to hell, but
we don't know.
They might be in, what was that? You know how they say that middle place you rest in before you go to heaven? I think maybe eventually they went to heaven, because this was before Jesus died on the cross for our sins, and then people would go to heaven if they asked for forgiveness. So this was before then. So we kind of gotta keep our mind into the Old Testament. So I do see a question in here. Let's see. Who are the women that they were having children with? Was it their sisters?
I think yes.
I thought that.
So I think so. And then as it just kept going down the line, eventually they became like 4, 5, and 6 cousins, maybe.
Just like the family.
Just like the whole family.
The royal family. They say they all related.
So what they say, you could be how many cousins twice removed before you're not really In the blood no more. What is it? What
When
is
they
it?
say third cousin don't count.
I guess. So, I mean, I really would. I really do think that at some point they had to be sisters. And so, any other questions before we move to 6? No more. So y'all ready to Trina, you're not on mute. Did anybody else want to discuss anything else before we move on to 6, or are y'all ready to go to 6? Y'all ready to move to 6?
Ready to go to 6? Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So does anybody else want to read, or do y'all want me to read?
You can keep reading.
Okay. When mankind began to multiply on the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of mankind were beautiful, and they took any they chose as wives for themselves. And the Lord said, my spirit will not remain with mankind forever, because they are corrupt. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth, both in those days and afterward, when the sons of God came to the daughters of mankind, who bore children to them. They were the powerful men of old, the famous men. When the Lord saw that human wickedness was widespread on the earth, and that every inclination of the human mind was nothing but evil all the time, the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and he was deeply grieved. Then the Lord said, I will wipe mankind, whom I created off the face of the earth, together with the animals, creatures that crawl, and birds of the sky, for I regret that I made them. Noah, however, found favor with the Lord. These are the family records of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among his contemporaries. Noah walked with God. And Noah fathered 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with wickedness. God saw how corrupt the earth was, for every creature had corrupted its way on the earth. Then God said to Noah, I have decided to put an end to every creature, for the earth is filled with wickedness because of them. Therefore, I'm going to destroy them along with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark and cover it with pitch inside and outside. This is how you are to make it. The ark will be 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. You are to make a roof, finishing the sides of the ark to within 18 inches of the roof. You are to put a door in the side of the ark, make it with lower, middle, and upper decks. Understand that I'm bringing a flood waters on the earth to destroy every creature under heaven with the breath of life in it. Everything on earth will perish, but I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark with your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives. You are also to bring into the ark 2 of all the living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you. 2 of everything, from the birds according to their kinds, from the livestock according to their kinds, and from the animals that crawl on the ground according to their kinds. They will come to you so that you can keep them alive. Take with you every kind of food that is eaten. Gather it as food for you and for them. And Noah did this. He did everything that God commanded him. All right. So what do we what do we want to pull out in this text? Because I know it's a lot.
God was fed up, okay?
God was fed up. And is there any specific questions before I start asking questions? Okay, so first, before we can really dive deep into it, who are the sons of God? Because you got to remember, in this chapter, God is getting angry because the sons of God are now marrying the daughters of man.
Can you repeat the question again? I'm kind of like multitasking here.
Who are the sons of God?
Oh.
I know, it's rough. So when I was doing my investigation, it said the sons of God are the descendants of Seth. They were godly. They were of the Nephilim. The daughters of man are the descendants of Cain, also known as the Canaanites. Now, y'all might want to write that down because the Canaanites are going to be coming up several times. And they are ungodly. Because, you know, you ever hear stories and they say, don't sleep with them Canaanite women. So the daughters of men, they considered to be ungodly because they were descendants of Cain. And the sons of God were godly. So you got the godly mixing with the ungodly. And some translations were saying that they started giving birth to giants. And God was not pleased with the offspring that was being reproduced. So he said, okay, let's do something about this. So before I go to the next question.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
So let me make sure I understand you right. Okay, so you said the sons of God were the descendants of Seth, right? And then the Cainites, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Was the descendants of Cain.
Yep, they are the daughters of man.
Okay. And Cain is the one he exiled.
You got it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm following you. I'm with you.
All right. Any other verse that anybody want to bring out? Okay.
I do actually have a verse. I was just
okay. But go ahead. What's your verse, Ashley?
The verse I like, well, not really like, but the verse that basically stood out to me was wait a minute, give me a second. Give me one second.
All right, while she doing that, I'm gonna ask y'all this question. So it said Noah found grace with God. And it's the first time that grace was mentioned in the Bible. Did anybody ever notice that so far? Did y'all write that down if y'all want to highlight that and put I don't know if you want to put something by it, make note of it, but it's the first time that grace was mentioned in the Bible. And I wrote down that Noah was a just man, perfect in his generation. Because guess what? He's descendant of the 10th. And he walked with God. And remember, we talked about how 10 was the perfect number. So why did God feel the earth was corrupt?
That was my question. Well, that was my verse.
Okay.
He said, wait a minute, verse 6. That's
Verse
the verse
6.
I found. It said, so the Lord was sorry he had ever made them and put them on earth. It broke his heart. That verse it stands out to me because it just reminds me of the world we living in today. Like, I don't know, I guess that's why, but everything going on, kids killing kids, and the world is just in an uproar, pandemics, and it's just like, maybe because I'm jumping ahead, and I know how, you know, God wiped the earth out, how he, you know, sent, how do you say that, illness, famine, is that what it's called? How he sent it to the earth, and it just, I don't know, it just makes me think about the times we living in now, and I know God is just, you know, not pleased, and he's probably up there just shaking his head, and it makes me like wonder, shoot, is he going to do the same thing as he going to work this out too?
Well, he promised after the second time that he was never going to destroy the earth or send another flood. But so these are questions that we really have to ask ourselves, that is God truly pleased with how we're living?
No.
And so I like how you said that, Renee. No. And what can we do to become more pleasing and live a more pleasing life? Because that's what this is about. So I called this 10 to the end because it took the 10th generation of Noah to come to get us to the end. So once we
the 10th one again, the 10th generation again?
Yeah, Noah's the 10th generation.
Okay.
And so and he's perfect. So, because at first I was gonna call it the perfect 10, but then I was like, we already had a perfect title, so we're just gonna go ahead with 10 to the end. So, my next question is, what is the significance of the measurements of the ark? Now, in my other study that I read, not this one, but my other book, my study Bible right here, I'm telling y'all, it's been rough. So in this particular one, it said, I'm gonna read it to you guys. It said, hold on, let me get it. He said, and everything was 50 cubits and its height was 30 cubits. So it said the length of the ark should be 300 cubits. Its width 50 cubits and its height 30 cubits. So that was in my study Bible. So in that significance of the measurement of the ark, what is the significance?
Was it because he wanted to make sure it was big enough for everybody to fit?
Yeah. Anything else?
Was it how long it was going to rain for?
Not yet. We didn't get to the rain.
Okay.
We get to the rain the next
Okay.
time.
Okay.
So when I pulled out the significance of the measurements of the ark from that particular study Bible, it's in denominations of 10, 300, 30, and I think what I say, 60. All denominations of 10. All nothing with no and 1, no and 2, no 403. It was all straight numbers, all denominations of 10. And that's how, we back to 10 to the end.
So basically you saying the ark was made perfect.
The ark was made perfect.
Got it.
So any other verse you guys want to pull out on this one? And because then before we end, I want to talk about what was so important about Noah before we end class.
I got one.
Go ahead. Who said I got one? Caitlin?
Me, yeah.
Go ahead.
It says, and the Lord said, my spirit
Give us
shall
give
not
give us
always...
the verse so we can follow with you.
Oh, verse 3.
Verse 3. Okay.
And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years.
Why is that? Why do you like that verse?
I just wonder what he meant by my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. So is he saying like, because you are flesh, I know that you will sin? Like when he sent Jesus, he sent Jesus so that, because not that he couldn't understand, but Jesus was flesh like us, so he understood temptation like us. That's why he bared the cross, because he was like, it's a lot. There's a lot they doing. It's a lot going on down here. It's a lot of temptations, a lot of stuff. You gotta give them grace. You gotta give them time.
Yes, and also he said, my spirit can't remain with you because you have become flesh. So you're not more of the spirit now, you're more of your flesh. So your flesh is now controlling you, not your not the spirit. So this is the Schofield Study Bible. So I had underlined some words that I wanted to discuss with you guys. So let me read it to you. It was the same thing that Caitlin said about the flesh. But let's look at verse 4. So the way the Study Bible read it, it said there were giants on the earth in those days. And also afterward, when the sons of God, which we found out who the sons of God were, came into the daughters of men, and they bore children. Want me to read it again? Well, you guys got it. You got it?
Wait a minute. So wait a minute. Wait, the verse you reading 4.
I'm reading 4, but I'm reading it from the Study Bible.
Right, but this okay. You said that the sons of God was Seth's children,
The
but
sons
then
of,
it said they had intercourse
yeah,
with the women,
with the
so that's
daughters
still
of man.
Cain's daughters,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So my Bible say when they had the children, they became heroes and famous warriors of the ancient time.
So giants, right? So, but I don't think that the giants, I guess also because God didn't really want war. So some of these things we were creating ourselves. It's not stuff that God was creating. Because
So like free will.
basically, because it said it started with there were giants in my chapter 4. What does your verse 4 say?
Mine start with in those days and for some time after giant Nephilites.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Lived on
Mm-hmm.
the earth. For
Mm-hmm.
whenever the sons of God had intercourse with women,
Mm-hmm.
they gave birth to children who became the heroes and famous warriors of ancient time.
Yeah. But I would only say, because we reading it from so many different translations, that even though they were famous, but were they famous for good things? So because
Okay.
if they were good, he wouldn't be wanting to send the flood. You see what I'm saying? So they had to not be pleasing in his eyes if they was going to send the flood.
Was it that they were becoming like idols? Because you know how like God was like, do not idol, like I'm a
Do not
jealous
worship
God.
nothing. Mm-hmm.
Like they were becoming bigger than he was in
Yep.
people's eyes.
Yeah. And
Okay.
you're not supposed to be have anybody that's worshiping God more than you. Yeah, you're not supposed to be worshiping idols more than you worshiping God. So I had also wrote down this is important, that man got away from letting God choose based on compatibility and moved towards based on beauty. Because if you see, remember it said the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were beautiful. And when Adam and Eve was in the garden, it wasn't about beauty. He created her a suitable helpmate. See how I transitioned quickly from Genesis? What was that? We were in 2, 3 to now we in 6.
Yeah, that was real quick.
Yeah, we went from being a suitable helpmate to being beautiful. Not to say nothing wrong with it, but
it seemed like it went from men valuing what's on the inside and just wanting to see what's on the outside.
My God, well, I got that right here, Ashley. Man, look at the outer appearance. God, look at the heart. I got it written down right here. And my truth that I'm leaving with today, is everything that glitters ain't gold.
That's the truth.
So before we leave, I like to ask people, well, what did we learn? So what did y'all learn?
Well, I learned that Noah became in this example right here. From here on out, he's known as the second father to mankind.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that. So would Adam be the first father to mankind? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
And
I didn't know that that's how God was viewed after, according to this part of the Bible. I knew that, about the flood and they took his sons and one of each animal, but I didn't know that he was viewed as the second father of mankind. So that's new to me.
And you know what else we learned about Noah? He didn't question God.
And he was a perfect 10.
He was a perfect 10. He didn't question God. God told him to do it and he did it. Because that was my last question. Noah, because it said that at the end. Noah did what God commanded him to do.
And also, I also learned a lot about Enoch too. Yes. About how he wasn't trapped by, well, I guess he walked with God and God kept him. God didn't kill, he didn't die like the rest of them. So he, according to what the Bible, he never died. God came and took him. I don't think I ever paid attention to that before.
Yeah, I learned that too. That was crazy.
Yeah, he didn't die. And anything else that anybody else learned?
That Lamech, is that his name?
Yeah.
That he was Noah's father and he was the only one that, like, I guess prophesied over his child's name.
In that chapter 5. Yes, Caitlin. He was the only one that gave his child a name with a purpose. Because you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, right? So even when we have, I mean, think about that now. Even though we may have already have our kids, but we can still speak great things over their life, even though they could be grown. And even if you on a phone and you don't have no kids, look in the mirror and speak great things over your own life. Like, you know what? I can do hard things.
That's my lock screen on my phone.
I know that's right. I can do hard things. I can do any and everything. I can be who I want to be. My thing for this year is I'm doing a skit. So in 2023, that's my mantra. I'm doing a skit. Also, ladies, you know, I always say we have a voice in this world and we deserve to be heard. So don't let people squinch your voice. You got something to say, it deserves to be said. Whether somebody want to hear it or not, and it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it.
Can I read something from my Bible? So I think I mentioned before that I'm reading from the Life Recovery Bible. It touch bases on chapter 6, verse 22, and it says, one has to wonder whether God's instructions made any sense to Noah. God told him to build a gigantic boat far from the nearest body of navigable water. But here we see that Noah was obedient, even though God's instructions were hard to understand. This is one of the secrets of success in any recovery program. We may not understand how everything works, but we must do what God tells us is necessary for a successful recovery. When we step out in faith, as Noah did, God will give us the success we seek. That was it.
I love it. That's a nice way to end. Anybody else have any thoughts before we end Bible study? Anybody else want to share what they learned?
I just want to say this was spirit filled. I'm sitting here in awe. My heart is overjoyed. I gotta write down some more stuff because I really didn't get something. Well, first of all, I didn't get to read it until, like, let's be real, I just got in from work at 6:30 and he let me read it at 6:30.
Okay.
So I was reading and I had some things to say, but the way that it was explained and the thoughts that was given, it really has me thinking, we are going through the same things that they went through back then. But we definitely can't say that we don't have example to be able to reflect back on, so that we can say, okay, hey, should I rethink this way? Like, yeah, this learning it from a woman's point of view, we're getting more detail to me. So it's really helpful. It's clarifying a whole lot of stuff.
Yes.
That I was like, okay, wait a minute, what does this mean?
Yes, because it teaches us how we fall into some of the same steps or some of the same traps of some of the things that our ancestors may have done, or generations that came before us. Like we said earlier, sometimes we might only make the potato salad this way because that's the way Big Mama made it. And Big Mama might have cooked with a whole lot of salt. But now, high blood pressure is real. So we might have to lessen that salt a little bit, and it's okay. And the potato salad going to still be good because it's being made for a different generation, right? And it's sometimes I laugh because, like, my kid don't really know what a frozen cup is. Remember we used to get frozen cups for 25 cents?
Sure
like
did.
the kids today, you know, they don't get to enjoy just going to knock on the door and be like, what kind of frozen cup you want? And you know, you go and you make it a frozen cup with Kool-Aid. The lady up the street from me used to sell frozen cups when I first moved around here. And of course, she's an older lady now, and so she's not selling frozen cups. But the kids is coming, like my grandchild probably won't know nothing about a frozen cup. She'll know about a snowball, but she won't know about a frozen cup. She'll know about a freeze pop, but she won't really know about a frozen cup. But everything isn't bad, but some things we do need to break, but some things we do need to keep. So I guess for our homework this time, ladies, we're going to look into some of the things that have been handed down to us in our generations. And we're going to make a list of the things that we want to keep and the things that we don't, so that we're not going to pass them down to our next generation, so that they won't pass it down to the generations that's coming behind us. So we can maybe title our list, this stops now, or it stops now, or however you want to title your list. But I think that would be a good way for us to deal with our homework for this week. And I do, you know, I got another thing I got to share with us on for the tie it all together. You know, I got to tie it all together. And so we'll be able to tie this all together. Then we can say goodnight. This for me is funny.
I am successful, powerful, handsome, happy.
Newly elected Congressman Evan Baxter's life
What are we gonna do? That's right!
was going exactly as planned.
There he is, the big kahuna.
I think I have to do the dance.
Do the dance.
Until he met someone with a plan of his own.
Who are you?
I'm God. Flood's coming, and I want you, Evan Baxter, to build an ark.
Yeah.
Ain't that look too tough?
Well, today must be my lucky day.
Now, no matter where he turns,
Those animals are following me.
See, if you had an ark, you'd have a place to put them all.
no matter what he does,
Wow, what's with the scruffle, mountain man?
Whenever I shave, the beard grows right back in.
Even what happened? Did you fall in a mine shaft? Did you just come out of a coma?
No.
Were you attacked by a werewolf?
there's just no escaping
Obviously, the stresses of this office have proven too much for you.
his destiny.
I lost my job, everything. Why are you doing this? Why me?
You want to change the world, son. So do I.
Here we go. Gentlemen, I have come up with a little construction project for us this weekend. Oh! The whole weekend? Oh! Yes. Maybe a couple weekends after that.
You're talking about building a boat.
It might be something fun for the family. Be great in case it floods or something.
From the director Bruce Almighty comes the next chapter in the almightiest story of them all.
I know that this doesn't make any sense. I just want you to trust me. Dad, I'm with you.
Me too.
Is that a llama with a hammer?
Let's finish this sucker.
This summer,
His name is Evan Baxter, but now he goes by New York's Noah, Heaven's Evan, the weirdo with a beardo.
when it comes to saving the world,
What's up?
some assembly may be required.
Thanks.
I can't even get my cat to use the litter box.
People, the flood is imminent. Is it too much to ask for a little precipitation?
Evan Almighty.
Everybody, hang on!
All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed Bible study tonight, and you got to meet Noah and see him build his ark. And also know that when God asks you to do something, regardless if it sounds crazy, do it. So now we're gonna meet on Tuesdays. I'll send out the next reading assignment this weekend before Tuesday. So give us time to meet up and get ready for Tuesday Bible study since I'll be out of town on Thursday. All right, ladies. I hope you guys had a good time and you learned something great.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
See you next
you.
week.
Thank you.
You too.
Good night.
Bye bye.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.